Top 30 strongest characters in One Piece based on story, portrayal, and feats. In One Piece, sometimes it's hard to scale some of these characters because we just don't know much, but we know where their place in the story might be. An emu, a dragon, somewhere in the end game, so we know they have to be somewhere close to the top, but then you can't really prove anything other than that, but we know they're gonna be end game characters. Characters like that don't necessarily need feats. We can use story, portrayal, and where we know or think the story takes them to place them.
With that in mind, let's get straight into the list.
30 was kind of one of the hardest positions to place because it's like, ooh, who goes in this spot? We got Jinbei, we got people like Crocodile, we got people like Jack, people like Perospero, some Magellan, you know, some pre-time skip, you know, you add some post-time skip tax to them, add some hockey, kind of, you know, shuffle around a little bit, see where they might be. But none of those names I just mentioned made it into the top 30, unfortunately. At number 30 comes in Boa Hancock. Because of what she did against Blackbeard, being able to take out a bunch of Blackbeard commanders, I don't think Jack can do that. I don't think Pero can do that. Rob Lucci probably can't do that. There's a bunch of other people that we may think can beat Boa one-on-one, but in the world of One Piece, Boa might be a bigger threat to the world. Boa might be able to beat more characters than them or look better in certain situations because of her devil fruit. She has an extremely tricky devil fruit, and if she runs into the wrong person, even a Yonko like Blackbeard said himself, this can be trouble for me. I don't think anything Jack, Rob Lucci, or some of the other people that we may think is higher than Boa, Blackbeard don't care about them like that. But because of how tricky Boa can be, she got that respect from a Yonko, a top tier endgame character, someone like Blackbeard. So at number 29 we have Weevil. We don't really know much. We know he's physically strong as hell, big boy. Weevil might be able to beat Boa in a one-on-one fight. I don't think Weevil's gonna be attracted to Boa like that. I damn near think Weevil's a clone, even though it isn't really confirmed. To me, it's kind of confirmed. We see the stitches. We already went through the Stussy stuff. Weevil is a clone of Whitebeard. He has the physical strength, at least. Was able to make it to the position of Warlord. Recently, he was captured by Green Bull, but that seemed to have something to do with his mom and a hostage situation. It wasn't necessarily a full-on fight. And knowing Green Bull, I'm not too sure how that played out, but if he thought it was necessary to not straight up just go attack Weevil and take him by force like he did the King and Queen, that tells me something about Weevil's strength. At 28, we have Captain Eustace Kid. Not the most fan favorite guy, but you know, he had his showing in Wano. I don't think there was much explanation needed for Kid, because we've seen Kid. We've seen what he's able to do. You may not like him. He's not the most entertaining fighter. He's not the most flashy fighter. He's not the first person that come to mind when you think of strength, especially in One Piece. His devil fruit is okay, cool. He don't use it the best. His hockey is whatever. But we saw him fight two Yonkos, and he did his thing. He represented himself fairly well enough, especially with the tag team with him and Law. Worked pretty good together, and they was able to beat a Yonko and Big Mom. I think Kid deserves his respect. At number 27, this is where some controversy might start, but hey, let me know in the comments. Tell me I'm bugging out. Let's talk about it. This is what we're here for. Give me Blackleg Sanji at 27. Kind of low. I think this is actually pretty good for Sanji, because obviously we know he will grow, he will become stronger. There's still room for improvement for Sanji. He just unlocked his Germa genes. He fixed a lot of the weaknesses he had with his durability and endurance. Maybe some heavier hits kind of was lacking in that. I think this is a pretty good placement for Sanji. He probably beats everyone below him, and he can probably beat a few people above him depending on matchups. His observation hockey, his speed, the new added Germa, defense and offense, invisibility. Sanji has some good tools, weapons, and a decent arsenal. I think 27 is a good spot for Sanji. At 26, Yamato, son/daughter of Kaido, aka Fake Odin, aka Fake Straw Hat. Main claim to fame, fighting Kaido, being the son and daughter of Kaido, coming from that Oni race. I had a lot of trouble between Sanji and Yamato, which one should go first. I give Yamato the little bump because of the rooftop hype. She was up there fighting Kaido, even though that come with a little caveat, a little asterisk. We know Kaido isn't going all out with Yamato, that's his kid. But we should all know Kaido isn't fighting Yamato the same way he's fighting Luffy or the Scabbards or anyone else. This is his daughter. He isn't gonna go for the kill. He still cares about Yamato. He still has a plan for Yamato. He still wanted Yamato to take over Wano ever since she accidentally ate the devil fruit. That's the deity of Wano, all that other good stuff. There is story being told here. And because of that, we know Kaido isn't going all out against Yamato. If you believe that, why? Story over power scaling, there's a caveat to that, but Sanji didn't see Kaido at all. I'm not sure how Sanji looks versus Kaido, but for right now, yin and yang could switch or mismatch, but because I actually saw Yamato go up against Kaido, and obviously not anyone can just go up against Kaido, even if he's holding back or not. That still takes an incredible amount of strength, speed, stamina. You gotta have a bag to even be up there with Kaido if he's playing around or not. 25, we have Dogtooth Katakuri. Hey, the Mochi Mochi man, we saw Whole Cake Island. We saw him versus Luffy, him versus Snake Man. We saw the endurance. That fight was about 16 to 12 hours long. We saw the versatility. We saw the way he was able to use his devil fruit. We saw the observation haki, best in the story at the time. Now we probably have Shanks and a few other people that might be better. But still, top 5 observation haki, especially if you go off of straight feats, top 5, top 3 maybe, observation haki users in the story currently. And just because we have moved on from him, don't necessarily mean that everyone that comes after him is just straight up above him. I know King versus Katakuri was actually a hot debate for a time while the Zoro King fight was going on. I think that's a very close fight. I'm not too sure who I think wins. Regardless, I think that's a really close fight. I got Katakuri at 25. 24, King, one step above Katakuri. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because of his DNA, you know, the Lunarian genes. He got that defense, the flame, and also the speed. I think that would be a close matchup. Still don't know which way it goes, but maybe it might be a little recency bias. I've seen King a little more recently. The animation, all of that stuff is kind of giving me a hard time thinking King lost to Zoro, Katakuri lost to Luffy. You know, Luffy above Zoro, but that's back then. That's Whole Cake Island. Now we're in Wano. There's a lot going on in my head of where I should put these two, and I'm having a little trouble. But, you know, my gut may be a little biased, but my gut is telling me King should get the one notch above Katakuri, even though I think Katakuri could win that fight. Not saying I don't think King can beat Katakuri, but I'm just saying very possible I think Katakuri can also win that fight. Coming in number 23, the man himself, Zoro. Right-hand man to the future king of the pirates. We know what it is. Apologize, Zoro fans. Don't unsub. He has room for improvement. We, meaning the Straw Hats, we're not where we're supposed to be just yet. We still have room to grow and improve. We can't be top 10 already. Zoro now finding out he has Conqueror's Haki. He can build on that. He hasn't mastered. He isn't perfect with Enma just yet. That will get better. He doesn't have a black blade yet. He hasn't made any of his own blades black just yet. That probably will happen at some point. Haki blooming. He's probably going to have better observation haki, better armament, definitely better King's haki because we just found out he had that. So for right now, Zoro's at 23 and we know he isn't going anywhere but up. 22, we have Shiryu. One step above Zoro because I feel like this might be one of Zoro's final opponents, if not the final one, depending on if Blackbeard is the final villain or not. But I don't think it would make much sense for the story if Zoro is already stronger than Shiryu. We know Shiryu will be there close to the end with Blackbeard. He himself got a devil fruit. We haven't followed him much, so we don't know. He has used the devil fruit, but maybe he awakens. His blade isn't black either. Maybe he gets a black blade. So Shiryu, even him, can also move up with Zoro. And I feel like they will probably be moving up together. And then eventually meet maybe somewhere close to the top 10 by the end of the story. Shiryu, 22, I think that's fair. 21, Ben Beckman. This is mostly Shanks tax. We've seen a bunch of the first commanders. Shanks has a special place in Oda's heart. I'd assume his right-hand man would get some of that tax coming down his way too. I'll put Ben Beckman 1 level above Shiryu, 2 above Zoro, because I feel right now we don't want Zoro being stronger than Shanks' right-hand man. Not yet. We will pass this hurdle at some point, but as of right now, I feel like we're still humble, you know. Laws of power, you don't outshine the master. And we have a little bit more information on Ben and his crew than Shiryu, so I feel comfortable giving him 1 spot higher. We know once upon a time we was told Ben was the smartest man in the East Blue, I believe, or whatever blue he comes from. He was the smartest man. He's the moon to Shanks' sun, and Shanks is said to have the most balanced crew of all the Yonko, which makes me strongly believe that even right now, if they were to fight, Shanks would probably be able to beat Shiryu in a fight. Of the Yonko, that statement, I think that's Oda or the story telling us Ben Beckman might be the closest to his Yonko captain of all the other Yonkos. At number 20, I'll put Law. One of the trickiest, most versatile Devil Fruit in the verse. We saw him fight a Yonko in Blackbeard and he held his own. I know Blackbeard and his fighting style, Blackbeard is going to take some hits. Blackbeard took hits against Ace. Marineford, he took some hits against Whitebeard. Blackbeard durability is pretty high because we know he ain't the most evasive person in the verse. He's going to get hit. And he got hit from Law, did some damage, but Law looked good. Better than we know. We saw Kid and Shanks interaction. Law looked way better than Kid did versus Blackbeard. And with Law being the captain of his own crew, I give him the extra nod, mostly because of the respect I gained for him from his fight against Blackbeard. At 19, we have Flame Emperor Sabo, second in command in the Revolutionary Army to Dragon. Sabo is one of the hardest to place because of a lot of the times when he's involved, it's story driven. He looked great against Fuji, which I wanted to use to place him, but at the same time, story was involved in that. We know Fuji wasn't really trying. Fuji already made the decision to lay back. Sabo didn't want to really get involved either and help Luffy. He didn't want to go for Doflamingo. So they kind of just had a little fun, stole each other, which is respectable. He should be able to get some respect for doing that. We saw a king and queen interaction with an admiral and they weren't able to do anything. So we know the context is a little different. Once again, Fuji wasn't necessarily trying. But with that and adding on him being able to survive a room with Imu and the 5 elders, obviously he wasn't able to fight all 5 of them head on, but just being able to be in there, having that interaction and being able to leave, that should be respected. And I think that's enough for me to put Sabo at 19, especially thinking of where he's gonna end up. Where he is now, 19 seemed like a pretty good spot to where he is now and where the story is going, where the story should take Sabo. Number 18, I have Saturn. My gut tells me he should be a few spots higher, but I have to put him here. We know very little, you know, he just came out. He seemed to have some type of regen ability, the transmutation circle, the curse magic. We don't know what's going on with Saturn. He seemed to be somewhat of a powerhouse. We would have to see more to definitively say yay or nay, but my gut tells me he probably is going to be a little bit higher. After all is said and done, he might drop. I don't see it. I think he raises up just a little bit more. But for now, with the limited information we have, I think story and portrayal places him fairly around 18. At 17, we have Figureland Garling. Another one, we don't know too much about him, but with his position as head of the God Knights, I think when it comes to battle, he might be stronger than the 5 elders. From the Kuma backstory and what we saw of him so far, when it comes down to it, I think he's probably, if the elders was to need a bodyguard, which they don't necessarily do because they're combatants themselves, but if they were to have a bodyguard, that would be him. And I feel like he's just a little bit stronger than them. That could be wrong. He could be weaker. But for some reason, my gut tells me, as least of right now, because the only one we saw Saturn, they can have gaps between the Gorosei, the different elders. But for where Saturn is, and the introduction of Garland, I think we can give him the benefit of the doubt. Put some Shanks tax on there, relative to Shanks. We only go up when it's Shanks. We only go up. So, with that being said, one above Saturn at 17, Garland. Now at 16, we have Sengoku. Probably top 10 prime, but he's no longer in his prime. Removed from the field, he got the old white hair coming in. He can probably still throw down and beat some of the youngsters on the list that's still up and coming, that still got room of improvement. He basically reaches peak and is on his way down, but he still got the knowledge and the experience. For example, of right now, if he was to fight a Law, a Shiryu, a Ben Beckman, I think even though those fights probably go 50-50, they may all be hard battles. Most of them, I think we can give Sengoku the edge slightly. In the halfway mark, we have the Dark King Rayleigh. Once again, another old head, past his prime, on his way down, a little bit more active than Sengoku, so I feel he gets the little edge over Sengoku. And once again, against the other guys, he's old, he don't have the stamina, but he might have the know-it-all and the power in the first couple shots to be able to put those guys away most of the times. Rayleigh has shown enough that he can still somewhat hang with the top dogs. Against Kizaru, he hanged pretty well. We know Kizaru was never really going too hard, and soon after Rayleigh was like, I'm exhausted. So when it comes to Rayleigh, I think the power is still there. He damn near swam from Sabaody to Boa's Island, Amazon Lily. The problem for Rayleigh, I think, would be the endurance. How long can he really go with these young bucks that can potentially go for days? At 14, we have Monkey D. Garp, grandfather of Luffy. We saw the Galaxy Impact. We saw the fight against Akiji. Another story-driven fight, not meant to be power scaled too heavily. This is student and master having an emotional exchange, not necessarily fighting with all they have. We see at the end, when it looked like Garp is defeated, Akiji crying, or what looks like he's crying, freezing his tears. Isn't to be power scaled too heavily, but at the same time, we also know not everybody can do what Garp did. The speed display, the power display, even his old age. We know Garp can still have it. Once again, similar to Rayleigh, the problem might be how long can he go. He definitely should have the power to be able to hold off some of the people that's right below him. But for the people above, the stamina issue comes into play. And yes, he can potentially win some of those fights. It's like, just because someone is lower don't mean they automatically lose. Someone can potentially beat someone 2-3 spots above, depending on the matchup. Coming at number 13, Green Bull, Admirals alone. That title alone. If you're the Marine's strongest fighting force, you're probably top 15 at all times. I know a lot of people feel differently or don't like the Admirals. There's nothing you can pull from the story to change my mind. The Admirals are absolutely top tier characters and can tussle with anyone. They may not win, they may not be favored to win, but there's no one that is beating an Admiral in anything other than a high diff fight. Especially alive and current. If you want to go back to the past and bring up prime versions of people, maybe then. But currently, right now, as we go, no one is beating an Admiral anything other than high diff. The Admiral is giving you hell. I don't care if you're Kaido, Shanks, Big Mom, Emu. An Admiral is gonna give you hell. The nature fruit, broken, can be very broken depending on how much he uses it. Get some first Hokage Hashirama action in there if there's poison involved. That fruit can get very nasty. We're not too sure how much of a hockey man he is. How good is the observation, the armament? Does he have conquerors? Probably not, but those are like question marks. So I feel 13 is a good spot for Green Bull at this time. Number 12, Fujitora, a fellow admiral. Already, disclaimer stated, he's gonna be somewhere around here. Don't tell me anything about Dressrosa and the showing against Luffy. Once again, that was a story-driven exchange. Luffy piqued his interest. This is a man that saw the world and was like, it's so evil, I'm gonna blind myself. And then he met Luffy, this pirate, supposed to be evil, but he's out here helping people, beating Dofi, and then being protected by the people. He's like, I'm curious, who's this guy? He's fighting me, but he's calling out all his attacks. Does he pity me? Does he not know I'm an admiral? Does he not know I'm a top dog? He's like, who is this guy? I want to see it. He's not going all out. He's not trying to kill Luffy. That's not something you can pull for to be like, let's take away points from Fujitori. If he really wants to, I really feel he beats probably Luffy and the entire crew. If he really wants to. Nasty devil fruit. Observation Haki seems elite. Not too sure about the Conqueror's probably not there as well. And the armament, but seems like he isn't lacking in any area. I don't think there's anything you're gonna pull as a weakness other than eyesight. Stop being mean. For Fuji. And does he really need it? We got observation Haki. He seemed just as fine. Might have better eyesight than you do. Number 11, Monkey D. Luffy. Are you surprised? Me too, a little bit. But looking at the list, I think it's fair to say at this very point, I can't say he beats anyone above him one-on-one. NBA style, Game 7, first to 4 wins. I think everyone in the top 10 beats him. Might be 7 games, might be 6, might be 5, might be 4. He may get a game or 2. He can, sure. But overall, I think everybody above him beats him most of the time if they were to have a fight. And once again, he's Luffy. I don't think I need much to say about Luffy. Sun God Nika, our protagonist. Number 10, Big Mom. Nasty devil fruit, versatile, tank, great defense, great offense, great endurance. I don't think she's lacking anything except mental state, and where if you can catch her without her homies, or you can separate her from her homies, or she just a little bit too hungry when you catch her, you might be able to get her out there easier than some other people, mostly because she's unstable. At number 9, we have the light man himself, Kizaru. In Egghead, we saw him have a little display with Luffy, and I'm impressed. I am confident in saying one-on-one, Game 7, Kizaru beats Luffy most of the time. Might be in 6 games, might even be in 7. I think I've seen enough to see that Kizaru isn't trying his hardest. One, might be selling, might be faking it. We seen the Kuma flashback, he was out there dancing with Kuma and Vegapunk. So his heart really isn't in it right now. But his display of speed, devil fruit, defense, versatility with the light clones, and I don't even think we've seen him actually put in real effort yet. Kizaru's a real problem. At number 8, we have the ice guy, Akiji, Kuzan. I'm gonna give him the notch above Kizaru, because even though this wasn't necessarily the purpose of it when they went for the Fleet Admiral in the 3 Admirals, Kizaru was the one left off. They had Akiji and Akainu go for the title of Fleet Admiral, which I don't necessarily think was a power thing. Portrayal, it isn't necessarily the best look for Kizaru. Also had a great showing, with Garp, being able to take a few strong hits from Garp, shows impressive defense. We got the battleship bags, showing that he's way more than just his devil fruit. His Haki is up there. And obviously we know what he did to Punk Hazard and being able to fight Akainu for 10 days. Someone who's an elemental advantage against him, but still being able to put up that great of a fight, having a permanent effect on the island. Overall, his showing is good enough for us to give him that one level above Kizaru. At number 7, we have the world's strongest swordsman, the person Zoro needs to surpass. I feel like by the end of the show, this is a good spot for Zoro to be. So for right now, I think this is where Mihawk is. At number 7, close ties to Shanks, and everyone thinks Shanks may be number 1 in the verse. former Marine hunter that was such a menace that they gave him the position so he would leave them alone. Mihawk is the one doing the heaviest of the liftings in Cross Guild. Number 6 is Kaido. We see in Wano, the man showed everything. The bag is deep, the bag is extensive, from the devil fruit to the haki, observation, armament, future sight. He has everything there is to have. Great defense as a Oni with the durability that comes with being an Oni. On top of that, the mythical Zoing. Fish fruit or dragon fruit with the scales. Luffy was worried about the scales for about 1/3 of Wano, trying to learn something to be able to penetrate Kaido's scales. He did lose at the end, but you know, story's gonna story. Luffy took about 4 tries. He fought Big Mom, Lower Kid, Killer, Yamato, the Scabbards, everybody else under the sun. Number 5. I wanted to put Kaido here. Blackbeard, with his ability to take away devil fruits, might be a bigger problem to some of the other guys above on the list with devil fruits than Kaido when it comes to it. And for that reason, I gave Blackbeard the number 5th spot, especially since I think Blackbeard still have room to grow. He still may get another devil fruit, giving him 3 devil fruits, and then who knows if he can awaken all 3 of those devil fruits. But of right now, he only has 2, and him potentially awakening those 2 is just a wild thought. So Blackbeard, as high as he is now, still has room to grow and become even higher on this list. Number 4, I have Monkey D. Dragon, the most wanted man in the world. I feel like him right now is as strong as he will be in the story. I don't know if I think he's in his prime. He's not that white beard, Big Mom age where he's starting to dip, or maybe he's now starting to dip, but he's either at the peak of his prime or is the tail end of his prime. Where he is now, we know he is endgame bound. Whether it be Imu, the Gorosei, Figurlin, whatever that matchup is for him at the end, it's somewhat endgame. Still crowded and more mystery. Dragon is still waiting for his storyline to come and his people to come out the woodwork. The Gorosei to start moving more. The God Knights to start moving more. Garland. Then he'll maybe come up. Number 3, Akainu, the strongest devil fruit in the world. The man that put holes in people. He been stuck behind the desk, bubbling for about 2 years now, and he is ready to burst. And when he bursts, I think it's gonna be bad for somebody. Somebody's gonna have a bad time when it's time for that man to start throwing hands, because as we know, he put holes in people. He's known as the Mad Dog. I don't think anyone would say that he would be lacking in any area in One Piece. I think the haki is there, all 3 variations, maybe not Conquerors, but the armament observation is probably there at his highest point. The devil fruit is there at his highest point. I think he's already awakened. He's already as strong as he's gonna be. He's in his prime, top 3. He's gonna be there at the end, waiting for someone. Number 2, Red Hair Shanks. We seen it. Probably the strongest haki in the show. From episode 1 to the Wi-Fi haki in Wano, scaring off Green Bull, to decimating Kid, to seeing the future that Kid was about to do. Haki, the speed, how calculated he is. Shanks don't play. He's not a risk taker. He's not going to be out there playing around like a Kaido, not using all his weapons. He seems very calculated. He seems very informed. And he seems like he don't play around. If it's throwing hands time, it's throwing hand time. Hope you pick that one up. And finally, as number 1 on the list, Imu. I think this is the safest number 1 we can get to. A lot of people think Shanks, a lot of people think Akainu, Dragon, Blackbeard. I think Imu is the safest number 1 you can have. He and or she, about damn near 800 years old, knows a lot about history. Apparently the D has some type of hidden meaning that the current clan members don't even know about. But he knows. Devil fruit knowledge, he knows. 800 years of history missing, he knows. I have a hard time thinking right now as we speak, there's someone stronger than Imu already. someone may get there. Luffy might be able to get there by the end. But as of right now, Emu, top 1. That's my top 30. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the list. Rate the list 1 to 10. Drop your list in the comments. Tell me what's the most outlandish pick. What was the best number? How do you think I did? Based on story, portrayal, and feats. We couldn't use just feats because then people like Emu really can't be on the list. Garland, Saturn, even Drag wouldn't be on the list. So since One Piece is story driven, and a lot of things in One Piece is driven by story, not just straight up power, use that as a criteria and make me your list. Let's talk about it in the comments.
Yeah, I know that you gon' say, 'cause you need something real, for real.